Always a little awkward here. Hello world. Welcome. This glowing light in my hair is a microphone. And it's lovely to be here. It's lovely that you are here with me in the room and in the ether. Welcome, everybody. Let's take a comfortable seat and just find some quiet space to begin. We'll sit for about 10 minutes to start. Step one, get comfortable. Do what you need to be in a place of ease in your body. We do so much battle with ourselves that's unnecessary. Get the support you need underneath you. Feed and nourish your whole system with conscious breath. And notice the presence, the realistic, very human presence of thought. Meditation is not intended to silence your mind entirely. It isn't possible. And I'm personally grateful for that because I have lots of things that float through my awareness that I appreciate, that I enjoy, that give me great pleasure. And that is not wrong, my friends. But it's to silence the reactivity. So a thought arrives, say hello, name it, know it, and then say goodbye. Take the next breath, find some quiet. And as the normal, human, realistic thoughts continue to appear, we are welcome to continue to name them, to see them, and to let them go. To allow room for the next breath and the next bit of quiet space. Perhaps in this quiet space, you notice some rhythmic presence. Maybe you can tune into the rhythm of your breath. Maybe you feel the pulsing of your blood. Maybe you feel the beating of your heart. Just notice. Do you feel a rhythmic presence? Can you feel the pulsation of life force making itself known inside you? Is there some inner dance that you can attune yourself to or synchronize your experience with? Those inner rhythms are there waiting for us to return awareness every time it floats away. We simply begin again. Begin to deepen your breath, and wherever your mind has been, bring it to this moment and gently wake yourself up to an alert place. We'll have a little bit of a chat before we go back in. So, yoga identifies 5 root causes of suffering, and I've discussed a few of those here in recent months. Um, they're considered afflictions, is one of the terms used to describe them, and that the afflictions have similar root causes that are universal. And some of the preceding considerations we've looked at have been ego and attachment, and the ways that we get caught in these afflicted states when we're trying to define ourselves with these permanent lines that we're trying to draw in constantly shifting ground. As if you could like do an outline in the sand and say, okay, here's my place in the sand, and not expect the wave to come in and wash it away. And so what do you do when the ground is shifting, when the waves are continuously rolling in, the tide comes and the tide goes? Where do you build your castle? It's not going to be in any of those places that are subject to this change, right? And so the more we associate ease and wellness and self-worth with these external conditions, these sandcastles that are bound to crumble, the more elusive that very ease and well-being proves to be. So the thing I want to talk about tonight is the additional risk of seeking out certain conditions for our happiness. And it's the flip side of attachment, and that's aversion. So whenever we're running toward or grasping at something, we are probably doing it as a way of avoiding the thing that we've run from. And that's just the natural way of things. Now, just like in the concept of attachment, the caveat about working with attachment is to understand that it is not to be confused with love. These are different things. In the same way, aversion is not to be confused with safety. In other words, sometimes there are things that we absolutely should avoid, that we are rightly averse to. People who are abusive, circumstances that aren't safe. We are hardwired in our most reptilian ancient brains to seek safety. And that's something that we don't want to let go of. So abuse, never to be tolerated in some guise of like facing our demons or overcoming all of our aversions. Not at all. Some things are meant to be avoided, and critically so. The concept we're working with here amounts to how much energy, what is the measure of energy we're putting toward avoiding discomfort? And that is energy wasted on what could be put toward an evolution of our mindset. If we're swapping a behavior or emotion that we're studiously avoiding with a different one that is a behavior or a sensation that we are attached or addicted to, then we're really just lodging ourselves in a deeper, more stuck place. We're not getting anywhere. And we're perpetuating our own suffering. Right. And in terms of relationship or circumstances that really do demand some sort of resolution or forgiveness that is safe for us to pursue, or some sort of like clean end that we're avoiding, then we're not really avoiding it at all. It's just going to keep popping up, and it's gonna grow like a weed until we get underneath it, dig it up once again. So one way of understanding aversion is that it's actually the negative imprint of attachment. I'm thinking of those old photography film, the negatives, right? Like, and so if you think of attachment and then you look at the negative of it, it's aversion. And in many ways, we're just as addicted to our past suffering in that we allow it to drive our future thoughts and behaviors. And feasting our minds on these kinds of resentments and angers and jealousies and suspicions, we're just stewing in our own negative juices and putting all of our resources into this meal, this pot of crap that we're never going to eat, that can't possibly nourish us. Right? Sorry for that image. And crap was the word at the last minute I decided I should use that was better than the one I was really thinking of. So, and the other thing to say is that aversion can be a self-fulfilling prophecy, especially when we're talking about interpersonal relationships. If we go to the holiday meal, the family gathering, all armored up to do battle with the family bully, then we will absolutely make that happen, because we will find justifications for our armor. And we're going to get in the ring with them, and it won't be pleasant for anybody. But if we go without defenses and we go with some patience, some self-compassion, and perhaps some compassion for them, or some curiosity about, well, what is their suffering that's driving this sort of bullying behavior, then the possibility for peace appears. It's no guarantee. There are no guarantees, but the possibility appears then if we allow for it. So we'll work with aversion in a short contemplative practice now by getting comfortable once again. And I'll say that while it's entirely appropriate to totally relax and even lie down sometimes in a meditation intentionally, I'm going to invite you for this practice to sit up nice and tall, to add a little bit of challenge. So again, with support underneath, so whatever you need to, to make sure your joints are safe and that you can get grounded, tune in then to your body rising up from the support below, from the steady ground, always there and available to hold us. And feel free to close your eyes or to softly drop your gaze. And perhaps you settle the eyes into a place where they're not engaging with sight or with very much light at all. Just a soft relative darkness to your sense of sight. Total darkness is not always psychologically a safe place to be. So know that about yourself. And now notice your breath. And feel its natural rise and fall. And perhaps with attention, it changes, as things tend to do. Maybe it deepens or lengthens. Maybe it quickens for some reason. All valid. Just notice with interest and curiosity. And see where the mind and the breath take each other. Just a little dance. Can we keep them together? And now to work with a simple form of aversion. Scan your body for any sensations that might feel challenging. And maybe that's the very real, very common challenge of getting your spine upright and spacious. Gravity is a fierce contender in the body. Maybe there's some tightness in your neck or your shoulders or your belly, some tension there. And the idea that I'm offering is that if and when you encounter any discomfort that feels new, any arrangement that falls in the realm of slight discomfort, stay with it for a few more breaths and see what happens. Now remember the caveat: if something isn't safe, if there's a discomfort that you encounter that feels injurious, move away from that intentionally. Come back to a place in your body that's negotiable. Not all sensations are, but many of them are. And do that work. Have that conversation inside with the belly, with the jaw, with the brow, or the shoulders. Issue an invitation of acceptance and soft, easy presence. Stay with your breath. The breath is our most powerful ally in standing with us to face the aversions, the discomforts, the afflictions. Absolute best, most powerful ally. Because it never leaves our side. See about if there's anything inside that's willing to let go, willing to soften. There may not be, and perhaps the knowledge of that in itself creates an aversion. Are we averse to some misleading notion of failure? And maybe that's the discomfort to work with. Be curious about the sensations that you might be more capable of sitting with and waiting patiently for them to subside. Sometimes physical discomfort in the body is nothing more than a call for attention. Some voice inside saying, hey, we need you. We need your wisdom. We need your breath. We need your attention. And we know the ways that psychological stress shows up as physical symptoms. Well documented now in medical research. that meditation, that doing these practices of sitting with slight discomfort for long periods of time or short multiple periods of time with steady breath can have a profound effect. Take a few more steady breaths. Maybe go a little deeper in these last moments of the session. And then gently bring yourself back to present moment awareness. We'll share a little personal story to illustrate the idea that not all aversions are deep-seated causes of all kinds of lifelong suffering. Some are just completely innocuous, no big deal, and no reason to ever think about them at all. And one of those for me is fennel.
Is what?
Fennel. Related to the taste of licorice, which is another one that please do not ever, ever offer me licorice. I will not eat it. And, please God help me if I'm eating a bag of jelly beans, which I really don't do, but I've been known to. If I get a licorice jelly bean in the mix, it's not pretty. But the thing that's interesting about the innocuous aversions is that sometimes they have real lessons to be found in them. And that for me is what happened with fennel, because I spent, a good 25 years understanding that I could not have fennel anywhere, not just on my plate, but in anything that was cooked with it or a seed. And I could taste it and it would ruin the meal for me. Absolutely ruin the dish. Couldn't eat it, couldn't tolerate it at all. Fine, it's doable to live your life and not eat fennel. And then I was in someone's home for dinner, like a small intimate dinner party. And it was a beautiful meal, a simple meal, a small meal where it's not like there was a big buffet to choose from. It was like, you know, an entree and then a beautiful salad of fennel and some orange slices and a dressing. And I was like, I have to eat it. And it wasn't like, at my sister-in-law's house where I could just easily say, oh my gosh, I can't eat this. I'm going to go get some carrots out of the refrigerator. Like, it wasn't that sort of setting. So I really felt in that social moment that my only choice was to eat the fennel salad. And maybe you can guess what happened next. It was delicious. Somehow, over this period of time where I let my innocuous little aversion just sort of settle its way into the story of who I am and what I will eat and not eat, turned out to be not true. And the lesson here is that when we're not paying attention and when we're not feeding something with a whole lot of energy, it very likely will change and soften and go away. And I can't wait till my next fennel and orange slice salad. So
jelly beans too?
I will not, no, I still will not eat the licorice jelly bean, but even if it's in the salad. However, so these nice little experiences of the way the universe can get shaken up a little bit, the way a new wave will come and create a new arrangement in the sand that we never expected and that we can just simply enjoy. It's just a nice reminder of impermanence in the positive sense, in the nice, enjoyable way. So one more contemplative practice, and this one, be as comfortable as you want to be. And it's an invitation, once again, to create an image in your mind that you may choose to disregard. So please feel free. It's sort of a childhood visit with ourselves. And so, if there's serious trauma from your childhood that doesn't feel safe to revisit, then disregard this. If you're in the room, feel free to just zone out. If you're with me online, you can skip this one and go back to the previous sessions. But I do find this one useful. And so once again, be comfortable, feel steady ground underneath. And I'll invite you now, after just a few breaths and a resonance with the support of your seat, imagine yourself as a young child. And at a time when maybe you were hurt or afraid or crying, waking up from a bad dream, a child in some measure of discomfort. And let this truly be a doable measure for yourself. So don't go all in on huge, big traumas. This is not the space for that, but a skinned knee or a bad dream or a friend who moved away, something. And now you are too. So now sit beside yourself in your mind, beside yourself as this small child. and be the calm presence that this child needs. Wrap your arms around yourself. Not literally, although if you want to, that's never a bad idea either. Hold yourself as a child. Maybe invite this small and vulnerable you to climb into your lap, where you might sit and breathe together, synchronizing the rhythms of inhale and exhale. And whatever this skinned knee or monster under the bed is or represents, be here for this child who has legitimate fear. And rather than telling it / you, you're okay, stop crying, don't cry, you're okay, and creating this aversion in and of itself to the pain, let it happen. Let it get processed. Peek under the bed. So essentially, we are asking ourselves to turn toward the discomfort just enough to give it the room it needs to spin itself to resolution, to burn its flame down. As we sit with our childlike selves, we're providing the safe container to be in the truth of whatever arises. Some demons are really just friendly ghosts in disguise. We got to peek around a little bit to see if that's true. And then gently release the child from your lap and put them sweetly into their beds. Tuck them in, kiss goodnight, and come back to your own space, your own self, your own breath. And just a few more breaths. And gently bring your awareness back to this moment. As we were sitting, a memory came to mind that I'll share because I think it's a good example of this. I was about 10, probably. I came home from a slumber party, and I was very upset, crying and scared, and my mother finally got me to admit what was wrong. And what was wrong was that I was told at the slumber party that if you go into the bathroom and turn off all the lights so it's pitch dark, and you stand in front of the bathroom mirror and you say Mary Worth 3 times, then whoever Mary Worth was would appear in the mirror with a bloody face and a head hanging off of her neck, and she would have her claws out to get you. And so my mother marched me into the bathroom, closed the door, turned the lights off, and said Mary Worth 3 times. And I had never had that fear or anything like it again. And I didn't like it in the moment. It was terrifying and uncomfortable, and I was scared and crying and all the things, and mad at my mother. Don't do this, please don't do this to us. And so there it is. Some demons are not real. And if we are in a safe enough space to just do that much little inquiry, to make that discernment, then we can free ourselves from so much pain. Thank you so much.